On a quiet autumn afternoon in Utah, Charlie Kirk did what he's done for more than a decade: engage with people. On college campuses, in public debates, asking hard questions, offering an invitation. Prove me wrong. Whether you agreed with him or not, Charlie Kirk brought people together to argue ideas. Trans rights, gun laws, moral dilemmas, you name it. Then suddenly, as he took a question about trans people's gun ownership, a clash of civil rights and of course the Second Amendment, the shot rang out. A long-range rifle, roughly 200 yards away. Charlie never finishes his answer. His death isn't just a tragedy, it's a warning, because this moment lays bare a worsening truth. Violence is creeping into our political lives, from extremes on both sides of the political aisle. We like to think that we're safer than the rest of other countries, especially in the West. More civilised. But that's slipping fast. If we ignore this turning point, we risk becoming the very societies we've always said that we thought we were above. We like to think we're better, that the West is immune to the kind of corruption, chaos, and violence we point to in other parts of the world. Political violence? That's something that happens in Russia. Government coups? It's an everyday occurrence in Africa, seems. Extremist political assassinations? Look no further than over the USA border into Mexico and how many political aspirants die every election cycle. We use these countries as cautionary tales while patting ourselves on the back, convinced that our version of the West of democracy is stronger, our institutions are more resilient, our culture more civilized. But we're not better. We are not immune. And the evidence is piling up faster than people care to admit. On October the 28th, 2022, in San Francisco, Paul Pelosi, husband of then Speaker Nancy Pelosi, was attacked in his own home by a man with a hammer. The intruder, David DePape, admitted he was looking for Nancy herself. Paul survived, but only after suffering a fractured skull and permanent injuries. The memes and mockery that followed were almost as shocking as the crime itself. This was an 86-year-old man almost bludgeoned to death in his own home. Or look at June 14, 2025. When Minnesota State Rep Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were assassinated in their home by a man posing as a police officer. And he didn't stop there. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette were also shot, though luckily they managed to survive. When investigators searched the suspect's belongings, they found a hit list with 45 more names. But of course it doesn't just stop with the Democrats. On July 13, 2024, Donald Trump was shot during a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. A gunman on a roof opened fire with an AR-15 style rifle. Trump walked away with a bullet grazed to the ear, but sadly a member of the public died defending his family in the crowd. Then in September 2024, another attempt. A man was apprehended near Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago whilst he was playing golf, accused of plotting yet another assassination. Two separate incidents, both in the span of a few months, both before an election. And now, of course, Charlie Kirk's just been added to this tragic list. Gunned down on a college campus whilst doing what he built his career on, debating ideas in public. This isn't isolated, this is a pattern. A rising tide of political violence that's spilling out into the streets, into campaign rallies, into people's homes, and even into the halls of government. The very places we once assumed were untouchable. And what makes it worse is not just the violence itself. Because it isn't just the violence itself that signals how far we've slid, it's how people react to it. When Paul Pelosi was brutally attacked in his own home on October 28, 2022, the 86-year-old man nearly died. His skull was fractured, he needed emergency surgery. For most of us, you'd think that's a moment of pause, a chance to step back and say, no matter what side you're on, this is clearly wrong. But instead, what happened? The internet lit up with memes, conspiracy theories, and ridicule. The right treated the attack like a punchline. Even Charlie Kirk himself joined in, downplaying the violence, mocking Pelosi, turning a man's near-death experience into a political fodder. And fast forward to now. Charlie Kirk is assassinated, and suddenly the shoe's on the other foot. And how does the other side respond? By doing the exact same thing. TikTok, Reddit, Twitter, Blue Sky, flooded with celebration. Thousands of comments calling it karma, videos mocking him, people saying he deserved it. This is the political cycle that we've created for ourselves. Violence isn't something both sides condemn anymore. It's something they cheer when it happens to their opponents. It's sports fan logic, painted over with politics. My team scored, your team lost. Only the scoreboard here isn't goals or touchdowns. It's people in hospitals or coffins. And that's what makes it so corrosive, because politics is no longer about ideas, policy, or good governance. For too many people, it's literally a team sport. It's tribalism dressed up as ideology. And like a sport, you don't just want to see your own side win, you want to see the other side humiliated, beaten, and crushed. When a Democrat suffers, Republicans, they laugh. When a Republican is killed, Democrats celebrate all over social media. Both sides justified as righteous, deserved, inevitable. And every time it happens, this divide clearly gets wider and wider. The next act of violence becomes easier to imagine, and when that moment comes, the reactions harden again. More mockery, more celebration, more blood in the water. And that's how politics, of course, turns into blood sport, especially in the USA. That's how we normalise assassination attempts, hammer attacks, and hit lists. Not by the acts themselves, but by the cheers and laughter that follow. And if that sounds dramatic, ask yourself this. How many more Paul Pelosi's? How many more Charlie Kirks? How many more attempts on Trump? How many more assassinated lawmakers before people stop treating this as a punchline and they start seeing it for what it really is? The breakdown of the very system we keep insisting is immune from this kind of decay. But here's the part that no one likes to admit. The bullets and hammer attacks don't come from out of nowhere. They're fertilised in the soil of rhetoric, the careless language blasted out on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and yes, by the so-called legitimate media as well. Because when you call someone a fascist, a Nazi, a threat to democracy every single day, eventually someone's going to believe you. And once they believe it, what do Nazis deserve? What do fascists deserve? We all know the answer. The language becomes the justification. They're not just political opponents, they are monsters. The left does this consistently with Trump and his allies. He's Hitler 2.0. He's literally a dictator in waiting. Every speech, every rally, every policy disagreement becomes proof that he's building a Fourth Reich. And after years of that drumbeat, should anyone be shocked when somebody decides a bullet is the solution? But the right does the same thing. Left-wings and Democrat people aren't just wrong, they're groomers, pedophiles, agents of cultural collapse. According to some corners of the internet, every progressive teacher is a predator. Every liberal politician is out to destroy Western civilization itself, it seems. And once you buy into that narrative, what's the logical next step? Well, if they're pedophiles destroying children and dismantling society, then taking them out isn't murder, it's necessary. And that, of course, is the trap. Both sides paint their opponents as existential threats. Both sides say, we're the last line of defense against tyranny, against collapse, and against moral decay. And both sides conveniently ignore the same behaviour when it comes from one of their own team. When their side stretches the truth, when their influencers throw out baseless smears, when their politicians play fast and loose with labels and lies, silence. Because consistency doesn't win votes, outrage does. And each side feels even more justified. This is why politics feels less like disagreement and more like holy war. Because if you genuinely believe the guy on the other side is Hitler, then any kind of compromise is treason for you. If you genuinely believe your opponents are predators trying to destroy kids, then debate simply is not enough. Words aren't enough. Actions become justified in that instance. And that's how we get here. That's how people talk themselves into hammer attacks, assassination attempts, and hit lists with dozens of names. Not because they woke up one day and thought, I feel violent, but because the ecosystem of outrage, the social media feeds, the media framing, the endless flood of smears told them again and again that the people across the aisle, they're not people at all. And once you've dehumanized your opponents like this, pulling a trigger doesn't feel like a crime anymore. It feels like a civic duty. The question is, how much further down this road are we willing to go? How many more attacks? How many more funerals before we stop treating politics like a sport and start treating our opponents like people again? Because if we can't even do that, then the West is not better than the countries that we love to sneer at. We are just one step behind them. So tell me, do you think political violence has become the new normal? Or is there still time to pull back? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.